Evening all, evening all. It is me, I am here, and when I hit the right button and flick the right switch, there will be my camera. And there. 23. It's on its way already, because got to be sprightly. I'm not feeling very sprightly, if I'm honest. No, because I've eaten quite a lot of cake and pie, and intend to, as I said in my message there, eat even more. But nevertheless, welcome in, brethren, sistren, and those who don't like to be pigeonholed. Each of you freaks, geeks, and every one of you totally unique. It is the end of Aftermath, and we should be feeling good. I was considering earlier the status of the turkey as a cursed bird, because it gets to the twilight of the year, and not one but two Western cultures descend upon the turkey, committing it to mass slaughter in order for a celebration. I wonder what it means that we all eat a cursed bird at some point towards the end of the year, and then in one culture you eat the cursed bird and then all go and club each other to death for hi-fis on discount and whatnot. So very weird, very, very disturbing. So yes, how are we all? Well, I tell you how we all are. For the time being, we're feeling edgy because we long for the cradle of familiarity that comes, of course, with the disclaimer, which I'm gonna do a Shakespearean level disclaimer this evening because well, it's the end of the year, so we may as well end with a thumping good disclaimer. All acts of Discordianism portrayed herein are for spiritual entertainment purposes only. No spiritual enlightenment or transcendental experience is offered or implied, forsooth. Leaps of faith and logical backflips are performed by trained sophists. Do not attempt to recreate at home, zoons. Any resemblance to other religions, alive, dead, or merely untenable of faith, is entirely coincidental. Hail Eris, and immortalize the eschaton of brands of the Discordian Society. All associated intellectual property rights are probably also wrongs, just the way they are these days. Fnord. I knew him, Horatio. So there we go. Shakespearean disclaimer this week. Now, as I said, we're going to keep it tight. I'm actually going to kick things off with a reflective tarot this week. We're not going to bother with any deep thoughts. The 4 days till the end of Aftermath is not the correct time for any thoughts, deep or otherwise. Deep fried thoughts, maybe. I mean, deep fried food, very fattening. Excellent for the end of year festivities, Festivus. Yeah, so there we go. I will have a sort of calendar section where I may weave in a deep thought because there's no one here, but we got to say something. We got to say something for the sake of those asynchronous members of the flock. Hello to all of you, brethren, sistren. Asynchronous brethren, sistren, and unpigeonholed. So yeah, we'll get. That's what I thought I'd do. I thought I'd mingle the two, cross the streams, as it were. But I will be available for any kandar which arrive from whatever I waffle on about at that stage. And then, of course, we must have our little strawberry flavoured moment of communion with the divine, the weekly sacrament, which is the sort of summation of this weekly ritual where we find ourselves gathered together purely for the purpose of marking this moment as good. I just realised this. That's better. My rack was out of alignment. And if there's one thing possessors of our rack don't want, it's for that rack to be out of alignment. You know what I'm talking about. Indeed you do, in which case there is no further need for any consideration. Now, as normal, When we get on to Reflective Tarot, when we get on to Reflective Tarot, I have pre-shuffled the deck. And I have cut the deck, thus taking an arbitrary number of cards and selecting the one that had the best vibe, and that's where we are. So there we are. So we've got it, and I've just taken the card. Yes, the top card, and it's here. I still can't see it, and you can see the back of it, but we don't know what it is. This is the last vibe of the dying embers of Aftermath, and so I would imagine. I'm not sure on these things. Like I say, I'm in these matters, despite being a pope like every other Discordian. I'm just a janitor. So if there's a mechanism going on, I just flick the switches. I don't know how the mechanism works. I'm not an engineer. But I'm imagining that any of this vibe will be pretty effectively cleared up when we tip over from Aftermath into a new season of Chaos. Very exciting. We'll be doing a service for that. New Year's Day, which is of course the new cycle of seasons in the Discordian calendar, as it is, everywhere else. And so therefore we will be picking a saint, setting a saint's day, all of that cool stuff. But that is for next week. What have we got here? We have, oh, wonderful. What a wonderful card to bring here. It's Four of Swords. In case you don't know, right. So, Swords energy is basically, I guess I would say, the energy of bullshit. Okay, your bullshit, other people's bullshit, all bullshit. And how would we define bullshit? Well, bullshit is stuff we throw up in order to manipulate, bamboozle, confuse. It's essentially, when we do it, it's a way for us to buy time to not deal with stuff that we find irritating and unnecessary. And when other people do it, it's pure bullshit that they should just stop messing around, beating around the bush, and just get on with telling us what the hell's going on. And that is bullshit. It's great when we do it because it helps make our lives less stressful. Terrible when other people do it because it makes our lives more stressful. Yeah, so that's the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords, however, takes an image here. We have a soldier guy, and he's in this case, he's lying on a casket, which in the original or in the most well-known Rider Waite Smith variety, it looks like he might be a statue carving on top of a tomb. But that's not the intention. So this card actually raises that. You can see that it is a soldier in armour resting on top of a tomb. And there are four swords lying about because there have to be four swords in the card for the card to work. And the four energy talks about something we could call basic stability. So we're talking about a basic stability in the world of bullshit. And the image is actually quite interesting in this case. For the story goes that soldiers in olden times, and I think we don't need to be any less vague than that. That is just literally olden times. Could be medieval, Renaissance, don't know. At some point in the past, so the story goes, that when a soldier returned from war to home, before he would try to commence his regular life, he would go and lie upon the tomb that was meant to represent his tomb. Maybe it was his tomb that had been set aside for him. Well, that would make the people in his family area quite cheerful, do you not think? Oh, we've got your grave all ready for you. But yeah, so the point is, it's supposed to be they're lying in the grave, and they would reflect for a moment upon how it is that they were not in that grave in the serious, permanent sense, but in fact they would soon leave this grave and go about their normal life. And in fact, that what a boon that was, and how fortunate that they had been not to be unalived during their recent wartime endeavours. So there we go. That is the story. So this is a representative of that very soldier lying on his tomb and thinking how lucky he is not to need it for serious. And that is the vibe of the card. And I guess that's what it is. I think we could, if we're going to try and maintain an air of positivity, is the world, is every year a fresh battle? And is this time in Aftermath the time to come and lie on the tomb and think, God, I'm glad that I didn't, pop off during the past year? How fortunate I am. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the way to look at it. You see, people will go on and on about how we should look forward to what is to come. But maybe it is a good idea to reflect on, hey, I'm here, I'm going to see the future. And that's great. So I've had whatever sword energy has befallen me in this year, whatever bullshit has been flung in my face, I'm here. I'm ready to face another battle, another year. But then, do we really want to think of a year as a battle? I'll leave that. That is yours to judge. So there we go. That's what that is. What a wonderful card. You see, that's what I mean when I say janitor. I didn't pick that card. I just did the thing. Five split shifts, a cut. What's the top card? Why does it mean something? Does it mean something? Well, it does, it doesn't, and it is, of course, absolutely meaningless, as we are all aware, or should be aware. But that is our reflective tarot. And now Kandar, which means that the lines are open, as it were. I don't have anything. Sometimes people pop in. Sometimes people are there lurking away in the shadows of the chat apocalypse, ready to put whatever query towards me. But it doesn't look as if that's the case tonight, which I'm, perfectly sanguine with, because as I said, we're going to try and keep it fairly brief. This would be your opportunity, in fact, to screw up that plan, unless you are watching asynchronously, in which case you already missed the boat. Although you can leave me a question in the comments, but if you wanted to screw up this week, you would really have had to have been watching last week's and then leaving me a question in those comments. Or when I popped by the old YouTube channel just to see what was kicking earlier, it turned out that the service from the week before last that I thought I had put live was there ready to go for days, but had not actually been put live. So I put it live today. So apologies for the confusion on that. People do catch up. I mean, for God's sake, if you're trawling through old services anyway, I mean, what? In the fullness of time, it will not matter. Besides which, having the dates of the services out of order in the dates of release on YouTube is perfectly chaotic. Hail Eris, Eristic vibes. So there we are. But yeah, as I said, this is your one and only chance to screw things up. And if you're trying to screw up the 23, don't mess with 23. You'll only come a cropper. I certainly don't. And I'm just going to advise that you should not mess with 23 either. But we have 10 minutes to worry about that. What I'm going to talk about in Kandar, sort of mixing deep thoughts and Kandar, that's perfectly allowed. It's like mixing paints or whatever. I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about Assassin's Creed. Because, well, one occasional parishioner here in the SWTP e-chapel goes by the moniker TF2 Real Gamer, TFT2 Real Gamer, and with a number on the end. I think it might be 2, in fact. And that's fine and good, because that identifies them as a big fan of the old Team Fortress. And they regularly ask me, are you going to play Team Fortress now? And I regularly say, no, I'm not. And the reason being is because, now this is weird, I didn't actually intend for this to be the case. In fact, I didn't play Assassin's Creed until 2012? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Assassin's Creed 3 was new when I got my hands on a PS3 and hoovered up all the other Assassin's Creeds. From the first one, played them in order. And I didn't intend to become like a massive stan of the series, and I have in fact got to the point now where, well, the Japanese one is coming out in a couple of months, and I'm not feeling it so far. I didn't care, but then the thing is, I wasn't feeling Origins, and that's one of my favourites. Wasn't feeling Odyssey, but I keep being reassured that it's absolutely fantastic, and it is at a basic level Assassin's Creed-esque. I love the fact that, by the way, even fans of that series argue about what that series actually is, because the developers of the series have managed, purely by accident, I think, to make the essence of their top-selling AAA video game franchise as elusive and evanescent as morning dew. There are certain things that you can boil it down to and say, well, this is definitely Assassin's Creed because of this, and then there are other things which are like, some people think it's core and other people do not. Essentially, if you can pop out of a haystack and stab someone in the face, I'd say for me, that's a touchstone. Also, you need actual history mixed with sword energy bullshit for at various levels. Like, for instance, there is an attempt to stick the one I would know best, Syndicate. There are parts of London in there that I am very familiar with on a, more than a nodding acquaintance. I do know those areas of London quite well. And if you visit the equivalent in Syndicate, there's geographical smoke and shadows. It's not exactly the same, because a one-to-one representation of that area in London would not serve the purpose of the game, which is to give off the sort of Londonish vibes. But it's this idea of taking something that's just sort of meant to be vaguely the same sort of thing, but then we've nipped and tucked it to make it amenable to gameplay and not tedious and not too big to render. Compromises are made, and that is right across the board. Like, you have every protagonist of Assassin's Creed Forrest Gumps their way through the history period that they exist in, meeting every major historical figure. But then they do some weird stuff, like I think this was crystallized and I don't believe has ever really been done as well again. The one thing that I think maybe people have forgotten at this stage, but the protagonist of the first major Assassin's Creed trilogy, not the protagonist of the first Assassin's Creed game, was Ezio Auditore. And I think what people may have forgotten at this stage is that there was a person called Ezio Auditore, and in fact the broad facets of their early life, the major events, such as most of their entire family getting slaughtered in some spat between the Borgias and Medicis and all that kind of stuff, that's true. And in fact, it is true that while his father, his little brother, and another male family member who may have been an older brother, maybe an older brother, they all got executed, Ezio Auditore disappeared, and there's no record of him after the point of that execution. That's true. That's all true. That happened. But the statement, the idea that the reason that Ezio Auditore disappeared from the record at that point is because he became a superpowered assassin with eagle vision who went around carefully killing people who were not important to the historical record, such as not being able to touch Rodrigo Borgia because he died in a specific place at a specific time in a specific way, but then killing some other people is just, just probably not true, probably bullshit. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's that careful blending of things that are true and things that are definitely not true into a gaming confection that involves popping out of haystacks and stabbing people in the face. Why am I mentioning all of this right now, this evening, on this end of Aftermath 8? It's because, to a certain extent, it was one of the paving slabs on the way to my being here and doing this service. Is that, I mean, as we know, the famous aphorism associated with the creed, the actual creed of the assassins, as mentioned in Assassin's Creed, is that nothing is true and everything is permitted, which is interesting because that is a guidepost by which the developers have worked. In that, nothing in the story is true, sort of, maybe. But then it's saying even the true things aren't true, which is a very interesting and Discordian perspective. And everything is permitted. And I don't think everything is permitted means do whatever you like. It means that whatever you think about reality, you shouldn't ever discount that reality could be weirder than you think. And we live in an age when reality is queuing up to tell you how weird it is. All you have to do is surf the vibe, and weird things that happen in real reality that you would never, you'd be like, really? That's happening somewhere, is it? I mean, that's the thing. I think that the world has always been this strange, but now we just have a window in to see all the strange things. The people can take a small, niche, strange thing that would never have got considered as real news, or might have been a random human interest piece in the past, and now they can just blast it on YouTube, and some people support them and want to hear more about that stuff, and other people, do that. We all live in these reality tunnels, and that's how it is. And for that reason, never think, oh, but that couldn't possibly be. Like the people who recently thought something about something that happened in America, big kerfuffle that something couldn't possibly happen, and then it happened because everything is permitted, and that whatever you think is true, it's possibly not all true. It's never all true. Data scientists will tell you the truth isn't always truth all the way through. It's not like a stick of rock. There's a little bit of lies wrapped up in there somewhere, always. What kind of lies, we don't know. But there we are. So it's weird that the more that you consider the fact of Assassin's Creed and the fact of what Assassin's Creed communicates to you, accidentally or not accidentally, is bizarre. Just bizarre. And that is why I love it. As an old man as well, the fact that there are periods in the game where you could just tool about doing absolutely nothing, and just sort of pondering when you want to go on with the story or when you want to do an activity, it's very appealing to me. I'm playing an adventure game at the moment, which is a form of game that I used to love very much, but the thing about it is a narrative game keeps wanting you to push the narrative, doesn't really give you anything to do when you're not pushing the narrative. And so I am less in love with it. It's a very decent adventure game in the sense of it's fine narrative, nice graphics, not really the greatest controls, and some of it's very poorly designed. But of course, we haven't got time to think about that now because it's 23. 23 has found us. 23 will find us anywhere. If this proves anything, we can go to the ends of the earth, right to the end of the aftermath. In a time when all we should be good for is sitting around, inhaling cakes and pies, and 23 will find us, and 23 will arrive. 23 is the inevitability that lies, the enigma at the heart of the paradox. It's not like 11 plus 12, but it is 11 plus 12, but it is also just 23. 23 all by itself. Remember, it's always there. When 23 comes into your life, it needs acknowledgement. So we acknowledge 23 and then we move on. So that was 23 for this week. And no, wrong view. Don't like that view. That's the one. So there we go. That was 23. The last 23 of 2024. Oh, if only I had been thinking of this last year, then I would have cleaned up on all the 23 and 23 puns. But unfortunately, it was not to be with 23. but it is to be with 23, because 23 is what we see when we see that 23. So there we are. It's passed for another service. 23 is gone. We have a reflective tarot, and what a fine and fitting reflective tarot it was. Excellent for reflective purposes. More reflective than a high-vis jacket on a biker. That's how reflective it was. And so I guess we are at that point. Yes, that is right, brethren, sistren, and unpigeonholed. It is the time for the weekly sacrament. And really, at this point in Aftermath, the actual core of what it's all about, really. This is the point that we must mark. That and 23, of course. We are just a jumble, a mess of things that have to be done in order to keep the wheels of time turning. That's what we've done. We've committed to this now. We're in a time tunnel that says that the days of our lives are marked by. It's one of the purposes of a service, isn't it? Any service, a service in any religion, is to say, wow, things are going, and this is my spiritual journey, and this is part of the spiritual journey in which the vibe hangs low. It's probably one of the reasons why people can't ban the celebration at the close of the calendrical year. I mean, think about it as well. Well, in fact, the celebration that happens around and about the winter solstice, you can't silence it because every vibe gets absolutely flattened by that wheel. And it is interesting because, as we say, true chaos cannot be perceived, and the passing of seasons and the cycles of the great mechanism of the cosmos are part of the noise, the anaristic noise that gets in the way of us being able to perceive true chaos. Because we get spring, summer, autumn and winter, spring, summer, autumn and winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Every 24 hours the earth goes around the sun, and some people get night and some people get day, and it's all there. Yeah, anaristically presenting a mechanism that is really just a sort of, where everything's getting, we're really, we're spinning around and going outward in a spiral away from the sun, but at such a astronomically, geologically slow rate that we don't notice. We think things are going in a circle, but they're not going in circles. We are just perceiving stuff so rapidly that we cannot detect the motion. And that's a trap that we can fall into. Cycles, we're really being spirals, we really being stuck on a fleck of dirt that's formed out of the accretion disk of a cooling bout of gas due to explosions and what have you that happened epochs ago. It's all happening, but it's happening so slowly to our sped up perceptions that we can't even comprehend it. So there we go. So it's time for the sacrament. Here it is. Here it be, the sacrament. Obviously, anything small, red, cylindrical, to be funny, anything, but we tend to favour the small, red, cylindrical, or failing that, strawberry flavoured item. As we say, I could not find a hot dog, not even with a bun, so I eat this insert name of supplemental food stuff here because devotion comes with fun. Hail Eris. A sugary treat to bring the week full circle. There we are. Okay, so that was that, and this is this. Yeah, as I said, we're keeping it short. I'm not going to say we kept it light because some of that was definitely not light. That's the fault of the Well, the point is, right, fault. It's the responsibility of the people who were too busy to come here tonight to harangue me. But that's cool. That's cool. The point of providing this is it is the touch point. The touch point for Discordians to find a common place, the vibe of sort of asynchronous, geo-scattered, geographically distinct togetherness within a moment, that moment being this service. So I'm going off to eat some cakes and pies and probably watch nonsense on television. That's pretty much how it goes at the moment, and to wonder why, despite the coldness of the season, why I'm suddenly feeling that everything's a bit stuffy. And it's not just the dressing gown robe. No, it's something else. The weather has been very strange recently. It seems to actually get warmer even on these cold winter days. Cool. Well, that's all warm, as the case may be. I hope all of you a merry end of the aftermath. Get yourself some cakes and pies. Reflect upon the fact that you made it. You made it to the end of the aftermath, and chaos is about to come swirling up again, a new energy, and it's not so much to do with the Gregorian calendar performing a revolution or a dance, although that is strange that the solstice happens on the 21st, and then 10 days later we enter a new Gregorian cycle, and people of course talk about, you know, the 12 days of Christmas, because as someone said, you know, like, because Jesus was really into 12 days in December. No, that didn't happen. This whole Christmas thing, it's a name, it's a label, it's an assignation. It's true in some sense, false in some sense, meaningless in some sense. So it's a good peg, it's a linguistic peg for us to hang our hat on when we talk about this time at the end of the year. But what it, at the end of, you know, after the, you know, because the solstice is a real cosmic event. Yeah. And so those people that cleaved towards a sort of celebration at the solstice are probably the closest to the vibe. Yeah. Because it is the day of the least daylight. Well, it is in this hemisphere. The other hemisphere goes the other way around. Winter solstice is the longest day and summer solstice is the shortest day. But hey, hemispheres, eh? Who'd have them? Yeah, it is interesting how in those places where the solstices are flipped, I do not know if there is a similar vibe in the opposite hemisphere around about that summer solstice, where something happens that reverses the trend so that people do something. I've never really wondered about it or thought about it or investigated it. Maybe it is something to ask. And if it doesn't happen, why does it happen in the northern hemisphere? Why do we feel the need to take stock at this shortest day period? That's a thought that I'll leave you with. Enjoy time in your tomb, thinking about how lucky you are not to have expired in 2024. And in fact, that is your situation. If it's not your situation, I'm terribly sorry. And I didn't know that they got YouTube in the afterlife. So, interesting. Or Twitch, for that matter. I don't want to turn my chat into a Ouija chat, so I'm not going to go there. But that's what it is. Cakes, pies, television. See you in chaos. Night night.